Hello, and welcome to the 5th video in the Bubble Critic issue tracking tutorial video series. This video is all about privacy. A lot of the data and the features of the issue tracking system can be private. What private means is that only developers and managers have access to it. So let me go to my users, and we will look at this user here. This user is a moderator, but that title does not give this user access to the private areas of the issue tracking system. If we want this user to be able to use the private areas, we have to come here to the Dev Manager title and apply one of these ranks. So if we made him Developer Level 1, and we say Apply, now this user has access to all the private areas. So let's take a look at what some of the private areas and the private information can be. So let's go to our issue tracking settings, and we'll open this privacy group, and we'll take a look at this screen here. So here's where we can define when an issue is public. That is, when an issue is visible by non-developer or manager users. So currently all issues are public, so they can all be seen by everyone. However, if we only want developers and managers to see denied issues, then we can say that these are now private by turning this off. This is no longer public. If we want to say open issues that are not in a build are private, we could turn that off. And maybe we only want open issues that have a priority that are in a build with release date in the next 10 days to be public. So if we applied this, now an open issue that's inside of a build that has a release date that's 11 days away would be private. However, the following day, that issue would become public. So these are rules that automatically turn issues from private to public. So let's say we want all issues to be private until they are fixed. So as soon as they become fixed in any build, they become public. Everything else is private. Let's make that change. Let's go to our issues, and then over here, we have a fixed issue as indicated by this check mark. Let's take a look at it, and we see this green circle. This means that it is public. If we come up here to an issue that is not fixed and take a look, now we see the red shield. The red shield means that it is private. So all these issues down here will be public because they're all fixed. And if we were to make this fixed, then this would turn to a green circle. Now, if we have an issue that we do not want to follow those rules, we can click on this button and then we can say, I actually want you to be public right now. So let's lock you public. And now it is public. So by default, every issue is set to auto and it will follow those rules. Down here, let's say we don't want this issue to be public. We can lock it as private. And now only developers and managers would see this issue. Also, this privacy setting can be set when you create an issue. That same button shows up right here. So we could click on it and set a privacy setting right away as we create the issue. But what else is cool is that this icon shows us the privacy of this issue with the properties that we have set currently. So since only fixed issues are public, this issue right now, since it's open, is private. So if we change this to fixed and then we put it in a build, now we can see that when we create this issue, it will be public. However, let's say I don't want the public to have a chance at seeing this issue. I could click here and lock it private. So that way the public will never see this. So that's how to control the privacy of the issues. Let's next take a look at the issue tracking chat. So we have it set to public, but we could set it to private. Let's do that. And then we'll close this. And now when we go click on the chat button, we get our list of chat rooms that we have set up. This one here, the chat room that's associated with this issue tracking topic, is now a private chat room, meaning that only developers and managers will have this chat room listed here, and only they can put messages into the chat room. So if you want to talk about something private in the chat room, then that's how you would do that. Now to show this, I'm going to switch over to another browser where I'm logged in with another user who is not a developer or manager. So let's go to the issue tracking system. And as you can see, we do not even have access to the chat button here. So let's go to the chats by accessing it this way. Go to the chat rooms. And as you can see, the issue tracking system chat room is not here. Also, you can see that we are missing 2 issues here because they are private. So let's go back. And now let's take a look at custom components. So if you watched some previous videos, you might be familiar with this level custom component. Let's take a look at its privacy setting. So right now it's set to fully public. And what that means is that all users, including non-developers and managers, when they create an issue, they can enter in this data and they can also see that data. So let's go back to the other user, and this user cannot create issues. So let's change that. View his profile, put his privileges, and let's just give him 1 issue per day. Okay, now we'll switch back over. And we got a message telling us that we just got that privilege, but it looks like we have to refresh for this button to become enabled. So let's refresh. Now we can make an issue. So you'll see when we come here, when we make a bug, we can enter in the level. So now let's change the privacy setting for that level custom component. And let's make it so that public can only view, which means they cannot input. So we'll select that and we'll make the change. And we get this warning here. So this warning is telling us that when a user creates an issue, they will not be able to enter in this data. However, it is a required input. Therefore, a value of not provided will be used. So if we don't like that, we can use this value when hidden right here, and we could say 1. And now when a user who can't input this data creates an issue, the value of 1 will be used. However, that doesn't make any sense to assume it's level 1. So we'll leave that blank and we'll say edit, and we will proceed with this. And we will just use the value not provided. Okay, so we made the change, and now let's switch over to our other user, and we'll need to refresh, make an issue, and now you can see we cannot enter in the level. It is now hidden from non-developers and managers. So I'm not going to create a bug yet. But this user can still come here and view this data. So now let's say that this data is sensitive and we do not want the public to be able to view this. So what we can do is let's go back to our admin and then back to editing the custom component. And now we can select one of these privacy settings that does not allow the public to view that data. So if we want them to input it but not view it, we would select this. Or if we want to make it fully private so that they cannot input or view it, we select fully private. So let's do that, make the edit, we get that same warning, yes, close this, and we'll go back to that non-developer, non-manager user. And so before we had this eye here, I'm going to refresh, let's look at the issue, and now the eye is gone because we set it to fully private. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is the release date. Let's go back to the admin and look at this release date here. So right now, we have an inexact release date set for this build, and we do not have a specific release date set, an actual date. So let's add a release date. We'll say June 1st. So now we have June 1st here, and let's refresh, and now June 1st shows up. However, let's go to the other account. Well, actually, we can't even see build 002 because it only contains 1 issue, and that issue is private. So let's make this public. And now go back, refresh. So now we can see build 002. And with our non-admin, non-developer, non-manager account, we cannot see that specific release date. We only see the inexact release date. So back here at our admin account, he can see the actual release date. However, for the public, what they see is the inexact release date. So when you have both of these set, the inexact release date hides the release date from the public. Now, if we get rid of this and go back and refresh, now we see the release date. So it's only when you have both set that the public and the developers and managers will see different release dates. Okay, so now I have just a couple of minor privacy things I would like to show you. The first is similar to when we only had private issues in this build, how this build did not show up for the public. The same thing is true with mega issues. So right now, the public can see this mega issue because there are 2 public issues inside of it. But let's make these 2 issues private. like so. Locked private and locked private. And then go back and refresh. And now since all of those issues are private, the mega issue does not show up at all. So if you have a mega issue that does not have any issues inside of it, the public will not be able to see that mega issue. You must have at least one public issue inside of it for the public to see it. So let's change that back real quick. Set it back to auto. And we'll go back to the non-admin, refresh, and then of course the mega issue shows back up. The other minor example of how all this privacy stuff works is when we look at the log for a mega issue, it will only mention the adding of these two public issues because the third issue is hidden from this user. If we go to our admin and look at the log, it mentions all three issues. So that's it. That's all there is to know about privacy, and that concludes the video. Thank you for watching.